The companion grass mixes. What are they? What's in them? Why would you want one of them? And what are the other benefits of these mixes for you? The companion grass mixes are a mix of grasses, and they have dual purpose, really. They work really well with our landscaping mixes, so we're thinking about a wildflower meadow mix with a few grasses in between the wildflowers. Those grasses in a wildflower meadow situation help to discourage the weeds. They help to provide some structure and support for the wildflowers sometimes. They help to give winter interest and color, but then also they help to give a structure that the wildflowers don't have, say for a nest or in under the leaves of these grasses. There's a lot of different reasons that wildlife and pollinators are going to use these grasses as opposed to using a wildflower. So these companion grass mixes, we named them companion grass mixes because they are really a companion to the wildflowers no matter what the purpose of your planting is. The theory behind these mixes, the design theory behind them, is really to be that companion plants to the wildflowers. So we don't want things that are going to just hide the wildflowers, that are going to take over, that are going to be too aggressive. That's not to say that they may not increase some in the amount in a planting, but there's always that give and take that's going to drive the balance of a planting to one species or another and maintain that diversity. The companion grass mix, while it's designed to be a companion to those wildflowers, it doesn't have to be. It's just a mixture of grasses that are not too tall. And when I say not too tall, of course, it's going to depend, the height of any given grass varies, depends on the soils that it's in. The better the soils, the taller it is. The poorer the soils, the shorter it tends to be. And so what we're trying to aim for, though, is grasses that just share well, don't really hide and obscure the wildflowers, and are just, a part of that ecosystem, but not dominating. Your situation, your site, has a certain set of characteristics, right? There's either shade or there's no shade. The soils are either dry or mesic, which is kind of like not too wet, not too dry, or they're wet. And so dry, mesic, or wet. Which companion grass mix is the companion grass mix right for you? And the answer is kind of yes, because there's different companion grass mixes. We actually have one designed for dry sites. So think about soils that are really rocky or don't have the organic matter left. They're just red clay or something like that. That's a very dry site. So the companion grass mix for dry sites would be what you put there. Let's go to the other end of the spectrum and think about wet sites. Wet sites are those that you're kind of like, oh, don't walk out there because you're going to lose your shoes in the muck, or don't drive over there because you'll get the truck stuck here after this rain. That sepia area, I'm thinking companion grass mix for wet sites. If you're like, well, I'm not really that dry and I'm not really that wet, I'm just kind of in the middle, we call that mesic, or you could call that the Goldilocks soil. Not too wet, not too dry. And so that particular situation, I would pick the companion grass mix for mesic sites. Then if you're picking up some shade in your planting and starting to get, some significant amount of shade, like 40, 50, 60, maybe 70% shade, then I'm starting to think about, okay, let's start to pull in the companion grass mix for that part shade situation. Now, if you're really wet or really dry, you may need to start considering those soils in addition to the shade factor there. Other mixes that come to mind when I think about grass mixes to include like either with wildflowers or on their own, would be like a hide and sneak mix. If you want the height, you want the tall grasses, then go with the hide and sneak mix. That mix is really designed for wildlife in mind, but can also be used as a visual screen. And so we're thinking about, having the tall grasses, that structure, to stand well through the winter as a bedding area for deer, as a visual screen to just limit visibility into a certain field or into like a yard or something like that. So that can be an option. The hide and sneak mix can be an option instead of a companion grass mix. Another option, if you're interested in grazing, I would really think about those grasses that produce a lot of tonnage, and we have grazing mixes available as well, either for a straight native warm season grass planting or for a diverse native grassland. We have both. So when you get to the point and you're actually considering doing a planting and you're like, okay, this is the mix that I want, but how do I get from, where I'm at to the time that I'm planting? What are the steps involved there? Or you're actually at the time where you're ready to plant, you know that your site is prepared, your seed bed is ready. How do I go about scattering this seed? Like, what's the process here? There's a lot of really good thoughts on our website, a lot of guides, a lot of videos to help you know how to do that, know what the steps are, get some tips and pointers from our staff who have done it a lot. So feel free to check those out. And with this companion grass mix, there are some good pointers on there because it's actually a quite fluffy, most of them are quite fluffy mixes. They have very fluffy, feathery seeds in there. And spreading them and dealing with these fluffy seeds is not, you're not just dealing with your average cover crop or garden seed or something like that. So getting thoughts on that can be quite helpful for folks. Here at Hamilton Native Outpost, one of the things we really love to do is to design mixes. They're gonna meet the needs of people who are planting them. We want them to meet your goals, be adapted to your site so that they persist and thrive for you into the long-term future. If you are by chance looking at this and you're like, this is kind of what I want, but not quite, give us a call, contact us, send us an email, and we'll discuss custom mixes or share thoughts with you about these mixes and how they might best meet your needs.